Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the show where a real statistics professor uses math to help you with your sports betting. We're here for Major League Baseball, Saturday, June 1st. For whatever reason in my head, I feel like the terrible puns of like Saturday school's in session. I don't know why. Maybe someone can come up with something that's even worse. That we can have some fun with it. Folks, thanks. Just keep rolling. It's been fantastic. It's been a great run here. And it's not just, shooting straight up as much as it is the overall season results here, or at least results since we rechanged the grading format to kind of make things easier for us, which you'll see on the next screen. The picks that I pull out specifically here, again, clean sweep on the plays that were called out and given out as special packages, 50-50 on the other A grades, but the overall ROI there, really good. And again, the model just keeps doing what the model's doing. It's easy for me to pick out picks from the models doing this. Again, since we reclassified here May 6th, and again, that's not an arbitrary date. If you're new with us, we made a lot of money on May 5th. So if I was doing an arbitrary date, I would have picked the day before that. That's when we decided to reclassify again, trying to make things simpler. If you've been with us, you'll see a couple tweaks here today as well, and an extra line in the reminders to try to make things simpler for any of our new viewers. I know that a lot of what I do is complicated. I'm not trying to make it complicated. I'm trying to make it simple. So again, just always subtly tweaking the process here. But again, fantastic results from the model. The beat goes on, the drum goes on, whatever phrase you want to use there with it. On Thursday, hopefully Friday's the same. I'm recording this Friday before any of the games have happened here at night. So we'll see about that. And we'll recap Friday and Saturday results on Monday's show. No shows on Sunday. If you're interested in picks for Sunday, though, that's available over on Dub Club. Discord chat access, details, projections, totals, run line, first five, reverse run line, all sorts of goodies. A pick or a lean on every single game for both the full game and the first five total and side. So a lot of those aren't even plays I like necessarily. It's just kind of telling you maybe a direction to look at, right, or dive into. So just extra information there. Of course, the play of the day is available if you're part of the honor roll as well. If you want just the play of the day, there's a discounted package for that as well. But folks, with the way the model is rocking and rolling, now is the time to get in and don't miss out on all of these profits. You can get links in the show description. So reminders here again, if you're looking for some more information about the model of the community rules that govern this place, pickswiththeprofessor.com/new. This is a player-based model, so the ratings reflect the current roster. Average grades 100. Higher implies more runs, lower implies less runs. So a pitcher, you want to be low. Hitting, you want to be high. We are projecting an average game. One game is unknown. So when we give out probabilities and we say something like 55%, what that means is that team, we do expect them to lose 9 out of 20 times. We're not going to win every bet. But because we know that our model is pretty dang good, pretty well calibrated, that when we say 55%, that we know what price to bet that at, what price to pass on it at, or even the 45%, what price to bet it at and what price to pass at, so that we win more when we win than we lose when we lose. And that's how we slow and steady make money. All right. This is the way the books look at it. This is the way the sharpest sports bettors in the world will look at it. And that's how we want to look at it too. But of course, as always, take what you like and leave the rest. I would like it if you would like this show. That helps us out in the YouTube algorithm. We're going to start off here. Again, if you're new with this first day, this looks like nothing new. If you've been with us for a while, try to condense it on the one slide, mainly because I have a hard time like clicking through the slides. And also, I think it's just good when we're talking about the game, you can see all the information there. So it might be a little cluttered. Apologies if that's the case. But we're going to start here with the Tigers, Red Sox, 4 p.m. Eastern, about 70 degrees for this one, slight breeze in. Fenway's a hitter-friendly ballpark with high variance on runs. We're not going to talk about runs. We're going to talk about the side here. Offensively, not a fan of either one of these two teams. Starting pitcher-wise, I like both of these guys, Reese Olson and Cooper Criswell. Olson's not as good as that 192 ERA, but he's a guy that even last year I was high on and touting that I think this kid's going to be pretty good. FIP of 285, xFIP of 382. He projects more in that 382 range. I think he's very good. I think if you look at his ERA, he's probably not going to be able to keep that up. It's a little bit misleading, but still a good pitcher. Cooper Criswell, very solid. 396 ERA, FIP lower than that, xFIP even lower than that. So while his numbers may not be quite as sexy, he's actually got a better xFIP than Olson does. So two pitchers that are very solid. Relievers, we like the Red Sox. The bottom line is the Red Sox are at home And once we get past these pitchers that I like, both of them I think are relatively even, the Red Sox are going to have the edge in the bullpen. The Tigers bullpen looked really good early on, but I said from then, if you go back and watch some of the shows you've been with us, you know why my model works. It doesn't work every single game. It's not predicting every single thing, and it's going to miss some things. That's the way it is. It's built to be accurate on the whole. Most of the time, though, when I'm sitting here telling you, I know these numbers look good, but it's a mirage, or the numbers look bad, but have faith. That's what happens. That's what I said about the Tigers bullpen early on. They looked really good, but the model was telling us it was a little bit of smoke and mirrors, and you kind of see that go backwards in the month of May as we enter into June here. The Red Sox should be bigger favorites in this. We make this game minus 120. Our threshold for where we're interested in playing this is minus 107 or better. As long as it's minus 10 something, I think that's pretty good right now. The Red Sox are minus 102, and that makes that an official pick for us here on Saturday. Twins and the Astros also at 4 p.m. Eastern. Upper 70s, likely closing the roof in Minute Maid. Very conflicting for me here with these two pitchers. Joe Ryan and Framber Valdez, as you can see, rated very similarly. Top 20 pitchers, active pitchers in baseball, probably more like top 30 when you include all the injured players. Framber hasn't been great this season. He's been a little all over the map, and I think that was embodied by his last start in Seattle, where he got hit around a little bit that first inning, didn't look extremely sharp, did have a chance to get out of that inning without any damage, but couldn't get it done, and then cruised the rest of the game. And that's kind of been what has happened with him this year. I did make the comment, though, when I stand by this, his underlying metrics are still fine. They're not as good as when he was in Cy Young contention, but they're much better than they were at the back part of last year. So anybody saying, think about how bad he was since the injury last year in Anaheim, I don't really think that's accurate. I am an Astros fan. I watch them more. I pay attention more to them. It's a different Framber Valdez to me. To me, what I'm seeing is one that's in between the two, actually. Not as bad as he was at the stretch of last season where he just couldn't find it after that injury, but maybe not quite as good as the one who ahead of that looked like a guy who might run away with the Cy Young up until around the All-Star break. Somewhere in between makes him very good, but maybe not quite elite. There was a long time. This is the first time Framber Valdez's rating in my system has been in the 80s. It's been in the 70s for a long, long time. But again, I think he's taking a little bit of a step backwards. Still think he's good, okay, but maybe not amazing like he was before. Joe Ryan, we've been touting this guy for years now. We love what we've seen from 296 CRA, FIP even better than that, XFIP right at 3. Another very good pitcher. I love both of these guys. Joe Ryan actually projects as the better pitcher on a per inning basis. Framber Valdez has a little bit more of a history of going deeper into games. That necessarily hasn't been the case this year and of recent because of some, ins and outs and injuries or whatever. But for the most part, we trust that Framber's going to go a little bit deeper on average. And so that's what flips him, makes him slightly better according to the model. But on a per inning basis, we actually have Joe Ryan slightly better. All that to say it's rounding here. I love both of these pitchers. Would have no problem backing either one of them. I love both of these relief staffs. As I mentioned with the Astros, we've been talking about, the relievers are fine. Presley's the one I have a little bit of a concern about. But other than that, as you've seen here in basically the whole month of May, other than Presley, the relievers have been fantastic. But the bottom line is that while this Twins offense, I've been saying all season, I think they're probably better than some of their numbers because of all the injuries. I've got them up to number 10 here. I think their offense is good. The Astros offense still rates as number 3. It might be a little bit of a soft number 3, considering the fact that there's really only 2 offenses in baseball that I trust right now, and they're just kind of the best of the rest. But the bottom line is this Astros team still grades out really well on all of your park-neutral statistics for the season. They've been relatively healthy. They're still relatively healthy. For the most part, you've seen it with a guy like Jake Myers coming up and performing as well as he has done. Most of the regulars are playing very well. Bregman started off pretty slow, but he's been hit a little bit more lately, maybe. And he's a guy who starts off slow a lot. This is not the first time he's done that. So Astros offense still projects to be pretty good. They struggled a little bit last week, but when you look at the parks that they played in, that's not really a surprise, as they played in 2 of the more pitcher-friendly parks in baseball, including the most pitcher-friendly park in baseball in Seattle. The Astros offense is the difference in this game and why they win this, according to the model, 61% of the time. And this is why we like these model top picks, those best model picks that I talked about before, is the fact that even if we're off on something, maybe Joe Ryan is better than Framber Valdez by a little bit more, by a distinguishable bit. Maybe the difference in these offenses isn't quite as large. Maybe the Twins relievers are actually a little bit better. If you were to say any of those things were the case, and so we swing 1%, 1%, and the Astros, maybe they should only be favored by 58. They're only 58% likely to win this game, 57% likely. It still makes minus 125. a pretty solid play. That's what we like about these top model picks, is that we have that wiggle room to say the model is not perfect. And even if we're off a little bit, it's still a strong investment. I like the Astros here at minus 125, our threshold. As long as it's in the mid to low minus 130s, it's a great recommendation in my opinion. But as always, folks, shop around. Every nickel and dime you can save matters, even if it gets you below the threshold or not. That's not even the point. The point is every bet you make, you want to shop around and try to save as much money as you can. You'll win more when you win. You'll lose less when you lose. And that can be the difference in being a winning sports bettor and a losing sports bettor. Make sure you have 3 or 4 accounts. Okay, I'm not telling you which ones to have necessarily. I think you should look around, find what works for you. If you haven't considered them yet, check out BetUS. They've got a great promotion still going on right now, 125% bonus on your first ever 3 deposits. See if they work for you. If not, that's fine, but just check them out. Make sure you're able to, at minimum, spread your money around and invest at the best possible price, because that can really make a difference in your bankroll.
BetUS, America's favorite sportsbook and casino. Live betting and racebook. We're celebrating 30 years with a historic offer. A 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits. Plus 10% gambler's insurance. Get started today. BetUS, where the game begins.
We'll wrap up this show with a night game here. The Reds and the Cubs just finished up as of this recording on Friday afternoon, a game that got a little bit drunk in the 9th inning, and that's always fun. Just as a casual fan watching and enjoying baseball. They'll go at it here at night in Wrigley Field, low 60s wind. I don't know what the wind's going to do. Maybe a little out to start, maybe a little across, maybe in by the end of the game, maybe some rain at this one might delay it a little bit. The weather's going to be a little bit weird. I think it's going to play probably more pitcher friendly than anything else, because it's going to be a cool night, especially for June. But definitely check out on the weather on this one, because there could be some weird things happening with rain, and that could matter. If there is rain, though, not that we love the Cubs bullpen, especially now that they moved Ben Brown out of it, which is to say Ben Brown should be a starter. He's one of the highest rated starters in my database. I love the guy. Been preaching him all season. And after that last start, I have to assume he's going to stay in the rotation. I've been saying that. But at least when he was in the bullpen, it made the bullpen look a little stronger. But if nothing else, even though he's now out of the bullpen gets a little bit weaker, there's still a better set of relievers than the Reds, who are towards the bottom in Major League Baseball. So if there's weird shenanigans with the rain, the Cubs bullpen, I trust more than the Reds bullpen. If there's weird shenanigans with rain, I trust the home team more than the visiting team. 2 pitchers that I feel like there's just mixed reviews about. Hunter Green does have that nice shiny 3.06 ERA, but as we mentioned a lot with him, we've talked a lot about him this season. 317 FIP, 395 xFIP. The difference between FIP and xFIP is use of home runs allowed versus expected home runs allowed. That means to say he's been fairly lucky with not giving up home runs. I don't know exactly when that's going to come around. In the long run, it will, and that kind of projects a little bit questionable for him, because I don't think he can suppress the home run ball quite as much as he's been going forward. Still a very good pitcher, just probably not quite as good as the ERA might suggest. Justin Steele, on the other hand, has had a rough season with the injury. He's had some times where he's looked good and then kind of fallen apart towards the end. He's had some times where he's just labored through it. He's been kind of all over the place in his 6 starts this season, but his xFIP of 373 for the season, as much of a mixed bag as it's been, and probably if you're a Cubs fan, a little bit disappointing, his xFIP of 373 is actually lower than Hunter Green's 395 for the season. He projects to be a little bit better. I see Cubs edges everywhere on the board. They're not necessarily huge at every place, but they have the better offense, the better starting pitcher, the better set of relievers. They're at home. The model says they win this 59% of the time, and we just eke into the threshold of a recommended play. The threshold's minus 131. So we're looking at minus 130 or better, or if nothing else, the low minus 130s to lock in the Cubs here. I think it's a great price. Good chance for them to bounce back and get a win on Saturday if they couldn't quite get the job done on Friday. That's our show. Again, remember to check us out over on Dub Club. A ton of great model plays on all sorts of other games that we haven't talked about on show. A lot of other information on these games. If you aren't there yet, hit us up in that link in the show description or that QR code. You will not be sorry you checked it out. Or again, if you're just interested for the play of the day, supporting us there is also very much appreciated. But as always, of course, we thank you for watching. We wish you the best of luck, and remind you as you enter the weekend here that you can eat your betting money, but please don't bet your eating money.